is our latest episode, and I'm delighted to say that we have Matt here from ZeroFox, alongside, not a regular on the Quarter Cloud podcast, but Josh, who sits here in our sales team, because Josh actually came to me with quite excited about this technology, what it can do. It's very forefront, and we've just been having a little bit of a chat offline on just one of the elements that this technology does. But Matt, would you like to introduce yourself, give a quick overview why? And you've said that you've been there 5 years, so we're saying this is really shiny and new, but in your world it isn't. So maybe you could give us a bit of history, about yourself and what you're doing at ZeroFox.
Absolutely. So I've actually been with ZeroFox 4.5 years. It'll be 5 years in February, but over that time, I've been working in pre-sales the entire time, and we've just seen just a seismic shift in people appreciating what is outside of the perimeter and how we protect that. When I started, we were going to trade shows and people were coming up to going, okay, so what do you do? And now they're coming up to us saying, I know about you, I want to know more, please explain to me how your technology works.
Okay.
So, and I think that's a seismic shift in 4 years.
Yeah, and have you seen that happen recently? Do you think because of like a COVID thing, or is it just culturally?
Yeah, I think there's a combination of both. I think it's we are naturally behind the US in terms of adoption of new technologies anyway.
Okay.
And so I think we were always going to be a couple of years behind. But absolutely, COVID and everyone having to work from home and work within their own little bubbles has certainly changed the dynamic. It's taken it to the point where we need that connection. We need to be able to interact with our customers. We need to be able to interact with our colleagues. Yeah. And, cloud adoption generally outside of just social media has been so apparent. It's accelerated it drastically.
Yeah.
Hugely.
Sped up what was already going on. But at a massive rate. Yeah,
incredible. Okay, so to just quickly, briefly, for anyone who's coming on and hasn't heard of what ZeroFox does, could you explain it a little bit in a nutshell, and then we can break down the different elements of it and how it's really powerful?
Yeah, absolutely. So like ZeroFox in a nutshell is a cybersecurity platform. It's based in the cloud and it monitors everything outside of the traditional perimeter. That starts with maybe social media as a delivery mechanism, as a weaponization point. But it goes far further than that. We're looking into the deep and dark web. We're looking into mobile app stores. We're looking at anywhere that could be a cyber risk, that could be a just a threat to an organisation, or somewhere where data could be stored and have been exfiltrated. And then not only are we trying to find that bad stuff, we're obviously going to alert on that bad stuff that's out there. But we have a dedicated takedown team that, in most cases, can get that stuff removed.
That's impressive, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's the critical thing. At the end of the day, it's, find the bad stuff, protect what you need to keep protected, and then take down any of that bad stuff, and be able to do that in-house, in one platform, with automation and sort of internal functions.
Yeah, and the automation piece is key for that as well, because it's stuff that teams typically would have had to do manually themselves. Obviously, doing the digging to actually find that problem or that issue or that threat is hard enough in itself, but then actually being able to do anything about it. I know there's different ways depending on what the threat is and where it is. You've got certain capabilities with the likes of social media that literally nobody else has. But yeah, that piece that the customer can just essentially say, if anything comes up that is this, we want it gone. Being able to just automate that is massive, I think.
I think it's huge, especially when you brought it to me from working in the marketing department, and you were saying, well, actually, no, that could be automated. You could remove that. What's going on social media, you wouldn't have to individually log in and sort out. For me, even just from a marketing department and not coming from a cyber tech element of what we're doing, I was like, wow, that would save me a lot of time. So I know one of the areas that you do look after, and we sort of talked about today earlier, was the kind of the account takeover protection element.
Yeah.
So how does that support and help businesses in it? Like how does that work from a ZeroFox perspective?
Absolutely. So when you've got ZeroFox configured, you basically put all of your official sort of social media accounts into the platform.
Right.
You authenticate those into the platform, which essentially is just like registering them with Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter.
Yeah.
It's a technical term, it's an OAuth, but it doesn't need any usernames and passwords. We don't store any credentials.
So yeah, so from a marketing person like me, it's like what we use for our scheduling.
Exactly,
tools.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But we don't post on social media.
Yeah.
What we then do is we're then able to monitor what is being sort of spoke about. We're looking for key terms. We've wrap NLP around that, natural language processing, to look for things like profanity, changes in language, even emojis. And if it changes, then we can alert based on that change.
Okay.
But of course, we have API technology that actually allows us to perform remediation functions in real time. So if I think back a couple of years ago at sort of the major influencers sort of breach, which was the likes of Elon Musk, Michael Bloomberg and Bill Gates, they all started tweeting out these very random tweets which had a link in them. You clicked on that link and it took you to a website that basically had a counter. And it said, upload your Bitcoin to us. When this timer runs out, we'll double it and send it back. Of course, it was complete fraud. It was just a fake website where obviously bad actors were just stealing their money. But ultimately, had we been protecting those type of accounts, we could have seen that and gone, hang on a minute, that doesn't look right, and actually hidden or even deleted that tweet in real time.
Right.
So
it wouldn't have got far.
It wouldn't have got anywhere. I think you mitigate that risk right from the offset. Yeah,
and that's so important, isn't it, for like brand reputation, for you as a person. And I think you would feel really bad, wouldn't you, that your account's been compromised and you've put something out there and someone that follows you, or you've built, I mean, a lot of the Instagrammers of the world now, if you're, depending on when you're listening to this podcast, Love Island is on. There are those personalities that young children, young teens really buy into, fall in love with, really. Buy from, that's how the industry's been built. And I do know a few of them have promoted particular competitions or win this. They've gone in and it says you have to put your details in to pay for the delivery fee. But even the Instagrammer who's promoting the competition thinks it's legit. It's not till a lot longer down the line that they realise that it's not. So I think there's the you stopping that happening, and so that there's nothing fraudulent. But there's also that, for a lot of people, they've built their business on social media. So if they're doing something or making distressing to their audience, it's quite a big thing to think about, isn't it, really?
Absolutely.
Because it really falls into kind of the brand reputation. And that's kind of, I guess, also what we were talking about earlier. So not only you stop that from real time, but there is a problem if you are well known. And you don't necessarily have to be a celebrity on that side of things, of people creating fake accounts. And you can support that as well.
Absolutely, yes. So we also look at impersonations as well.
Right.
At the end of the day, it's surprising just how many impersonations pop up, and they're popping up daily. And it's normally, at the end of the day, an impersonation is there for one thing. It's to lead your customer base away from the official brands and the official pages. Normally that's to take them to a phishing website or a malicious mobile application, somewhere that is not legitimate and that is dangerous. And so the whole idea with ZeroFox is we're trying to sort of have that disruption as a service, for want of a term, make sure that we're taking down that whole ecosystem. And we can do that by starting by removing the impersonating account. If we remove that impersonating account, well, then they can't actually then post that link onto the official page to then navigate people away. But of course, in that same token, we can then look to that impersonating page or the phishing page that's out there and also get that removed as well. So we can actually look and remove those, websites that are maybe typo squatting using homoglyphs, which, are kind of changes. Like instead of having ZeroFox with O's, it's now got zeros. So it looks the same, but it's just not quite the same. But to the untrained eye, you might go there and think that it's the official page.
But it's also, I don't know, someone recently was telling me that they thought they ordered a load of Gymshark clothes. Because it was the first one that came up on Google. They put all their money in, bought it, and actually when the kit arrived, it wasn't officially Gymshark, and it was just because...
counterfeit.
It was counterfeit, but because their ads and what they'd paid was higher. And we're quick, right? We're all quite lazy. We put in what we want. The first one comes up. You automatically assume that the first one on Google is the official one. Why wouldn't you think that? You put your money in, it's around about kind of what you'd normally pay. We all think, don't we, And we all move very quickly. We want things very fast.
Absolutely.
And we are all very trusting. Very trusting. And especially if you trust someone or you trust a brand, you would expect where you're being sent to is correct.
I think that's also another key element here with the whole sort of social media delivery mechanism is you believe what you see. You know, if someone posts something on social media, everyone believes it. It's like with fake news nowadays.
Yeah.
You know, we've got technology within our sort of delivery stack that actually can look for deep fakes. So at the end of the day, you know, if you're seeing somebody and you actually see that person saying that they are doing something, you are going to believe it if it's them.
Yeah.
But we can now detect, using artificial intelligence, whether or not it is them or not, based on differences to the mouth and areas around the face. And so,
That's
you know,
incredible.
it just goes to show that we are so trusting on social media.
Yeah, people believe everything they see, don't they?
Yeah.
And videos that kind of last one where you wouldn't necessarily question it. If it's a video you're scrolling through, you see it, you're going to go, okay.
Yeah.
Well, did you see that where they was it someone that they made him look like Tom Cruise? They completely changed his face, and for all purposes, you would have thought that was Tom Cruise. Like he looked like Tom Cruise.
It's on the one hand quite cool and interesting, but on the other quite dangerous.
It's
it's
really scary.
Yeah.
You know, if you think if it was a world leader or someone saying something quite provocative, that gets quite really malicious in that sense.
Yeah.
Gosh, I hadn't even thought. I thought it like low scale, but
Just
when
have
you
to
actually
prove
think about
where you were at the time that you didn't say that, that it wasn't you. I mean, it could in the wrong hands. It could go
asleep or something like. In social media words, you could have gone to sleep for a good 10 hours, and within 10 hours, that's a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Like
wake up and you're cancelled.
just not you. And so, also, can you support on the fact of someone if takes down your account? So, for example, if someone hacked into your account and like you got locked out of it, which I know happens a lot.
No, absolutely.
Is there a support for that as well?
So via the APIs that we already have, we can look for things like if your role changes. So if you're dropped from an administrator of a page, or if your if your permissions change, we can detect that and alert on that immediately.
Okay.
You know, if the image changes, because sometimes the profile picture, they might change it if they've kind of hacked into the account and make it something different on purpose just because they can.
Yeah.
You know, we'll detect those changes and alert you to them.
So it's all right, that's very secure and lots of. And does that tie in? So I know what we said about the takedown as a service. Have we covered that more, or is there more elements?
So
to it?
ultimately, everything that we do that we take down is all controlled via APIs in most cases.
Okay.
The way that we do that is, it's almost automatic.
Yeah.
In as much as we have API integration to the social networks, if either via complete automation, in as much as I know. These are all of my social accounts and they're all in ZeroFox. If another one turns up, then I just want you to get rid of it, ZeroFox. Then we can do that. It gets issued to the social networks. It goes past our Takedown as a service team.
Yeah.
Mainly just to sort of sanity check that it will get taken down, that it is an impersonating account.
Yeah.
And then we will work through getting that taken down with the social networks.
Okay.
And you're one of there's 2 vendors that have direct APIs into the likes of Facebook, isn't it? You're one of the 2, and the other one, am I right in thinking they're not necessarily a cyber play?
They're not anymore. No, absolutely not. Yeah.
So it's quite unique in the fact that you've got that well, it is unique in the fact that you've got that capability and capacity to be able to do that.
And on top of that, we're also one of the only 2 vendors that have an app for Facebook. So, if you want to be removed from sort of ZeroFox security, you can delete the app within your Facebook profile.
Okay. And from a customer perspective, I mean, from a marketing perspective, I find this very exciting. But from a management point of view, who does it fall on? Is it sitting in the marketing team more with an IT person, or is it sitting with the cybersecurity team?
I think more and more now, it's definitely with cybersecurity.
Right.
It's with that SOC team.
Yeah.
Because, and not take away from the marketing aspect.
No.
The social media element is a kind of, it's the delivery mechanism. It's that weaponization point.
And you were saying that's just the tip, isn't it?
It's really
that's just the bit that we can see and we can tangibly understand.
I mean, at the end of the day, marketing teams are there to do that. They're there to push the brand, the PR, to get everything out there. And if malware came across your desk, if phishing came across your desk, would you be able to handle that? Would you be able to know what to do with it? And in some cases, maybe not. I'm not saying you directly.
No. I know that I send it phishing at email and it gets sent across.
But it's not your main job. And at the end of the day, if you're looking at sort of cyber security and a lot of the other use cases that ZeroFox can cover, like the deep and dark web and even phishing, as we've said, the first sort of point of call will always be the SOC team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's something, and it sits and it manages from a dashboard.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
it's web based.
Okay, how much would your customer need to spend on it? Be on it? Is it like a full time? Is it?
No, we have
easy?
a full managed service with ZeroFox as well.
Right.
So we everybody gets a level of what we call on watch.
Okay.
Which basically means we can triage, we can work into any workflows that a customer already has. And then from that point forward, it really comes down to how much time the customer or where the customer wants to delineate control. If they want to go in and maybe look at escalated alerts, then they go in and look at just the escalated alerts. They might agree with us that through the on watch setup, as we said, any, sort of impersonations, any phishing domains, now we've got everything that belongs to us within ZeroFox. Anything else that comes along, you have our permission to take it down, in which case it can be very hands-off.
Yeah. So depending on what size team you've got, because I know we ran an event here yesterday. We had quite a few people in. Everyone's teams, which I learned quite quickly, are very different of what size they've got.
Absolutely.
And I'm finding that the cybersecurity is generally like maybe one person that's looking after that. So it's quite good that you've got that kind of levels of tiering depending on what your team size is, so that you can do that properly. Another thing that we haven't discussed, and I think is the counterfeit element of a bit. Now, I think this also leans definitely with sport, potentially more. You could probably give me some more examples of, where you could purchase counterfeit tickets or counterfeit kit, I guess, in the sporting
absolutely.
world. So that is an element of some ways that you can support that. So how is it that ZeroFox helps
so ZeroFox can sort of monitor all of those like social marketplaces or surface web marketplaces.
Yeah.
So you've got Facebook, I forget what it's called now, but the marketplace on Facebook.
I think it's just Facebook Marketplace.
It is Facebook Marketplace,
Still,
yeah. And you've got Amazon, you've got eBay, you've got Etsy, you've got Alibaba, you've got all of those.
Yeah.
And we can monitor those looking for, as you say, counterfeit shirts, tickets, all that sort of stuff that's going along. There is a takedown process that we can follow. It's not maybe quite as joined up as it is with social media, but we can get stuff taken down on some of those networks.
Wow. Okay.
And of course, we also monitor, sort of dark web marketplaces as well, which then goes a layer further when, outside of counterfeit goods, we're now looking at credit cards, usernames and passwords that are being sold as well.
Wow.
Now, we don't have the element to take that stuff down because it's in the dark web. It's kind of, it's illegal anyway in the scheme of things.
Yeah.
But what we can do is we can notify, the issuer or the owner of those accounts that, hey, they have already been put out here, so you want to cancel those cards. You want to make sure that you sort of change your usernames and passwords.
Wow.
Yeah, and I guess that's where the use cases really start to expand out, because you've got one there. If we take counterfeit goods, for example, the manufacturer of that counterfeit goods want to ensure that, of the brand that's being ripped off.
Yep.
They want to ensure that it's only their clothes out there in the market, let's say, and they're not having their product devalued by a load of fakes being out there. So you've got that element, which ultimately then leads to them wanting to protect revenues.
Yep.
As well as their brand. You've then got the fact that they don't necessarily want their followers of that brand to be ripped off. So you're protecting your users and your following, if you like. And I guess that kind of user piece of your community as a brand, we had a customer come on board with ZeroFox as a result of this. So I guess it's good to talk about. They were a financial services body. They manufacture an app that helps you deal with crypto. Their CEO was having fraudulent accounts created of him, which were then targeting the users of this said app, saying, congratulations, you've won a prize, click here, follow the link, you'll get X amount of crypto. That link then takes them to a domain that looks exactly like the website of the legitimate entity. Stick your details in, now that person's got your details for your account, they can go there and try and taking
rip
from
you off,
there. Exactly.
basically. Yeah.
So the use cases for it are quite vast in that, yes, you're protecting your own brand, your company, your internal cybersecurity, your network, your IP, but you're also protecting your community.
Absolutely.
It's your reputation. It takes such a long time to build a company.
And also, those poor people that have been defrauded. I mean, if it's cryptocurrency, it could be a loss of money.
Yeah.
It could be a lot of money that they've just lost.
That you can't get back.
And it's the use cases with ZeroFox. The way that ZeroFox is actually built, we have a rules engine that's based on a JavaScript language. But what it does, it allows us to basically effectively write any use cases for any customer. So if they have a specific use case that maybe we don't have out of the box, well, we can write a script to fix that problem in most cases. I'm not going to say we're 100% we can always do it, but I've never seen it not be possible.
Wow.
So it's definitely...
So between the two of you, are you seeing particular industries that are buying into this more or quicker, or a trend that it's really happening to them more than others?
I think financial services is probably your strongest, isn't it?
Financial services is a beast, and I think that's mainly because of, one major bank was getting something like 2,000 impersonations a month.
Wowzers.
On like C-level employees. And that's extensive. And you think about trying to take that down manually, find that stuff manually, and then when you look to, compromise credit cards and accounts that Josh was just talking about there, it's just one of the biggest ones. I think when you start looking across all of our use cases, manufacturing, pharma's a big one as well. You think about, counterfeit drugs. You think about drugs being sold.
Oh, that's horrific.
I know, but it happens, right? You think about it. You think on the dark web, there might be, you might not be able to get a certain medication in your country, but if you go on the dark web, you can get it. But do you know it's actually the approved drug that you're actually getting at the end of the day?
Yeah. Is it a placebo, or is it something that's actually dangerous?
Is it something really dangerous? Yeah. So it's the use cases are just,
endless,
expanding all the time.
Because, the core of this, humans are trusting by nature, which is, I think it's nice that we are like that. But I also think, I don't know about, I guess I had Facebook when I was 17, maybe 16, 17, when I actually logged onto it. But I don't think at that age you even have any idea of what you're putting out there.
You don't. I think we all overshare. Especially if you think back to 5 or 6, 10 years ago, everyone was sharing everything from what you were eating that morning to where you were to what you were doing, and so we do become trusting that you are seeing that as the real person. Yeah. But then do you know that's the real person? Because at the end of the day, we go back to the impersonation element. If I have an impersonating account that's trying to be me or trying to attack my organisation, they're going to post links that they know I'm going to want to click on. Let me talk about football again for the time being. If they start putting in links that were for my football club that are buying amazing players, I'm going to click on those links. But are they taking me to the real locations, or are they taking me somewhere that it's going to maybe even just download some malware to my device? Think about that for a second. I could actually be infecting my computer outside of my perimeter. Yeah. I then walk back in through my, however expensive my perimeter is. I drop my machine on the network, and then it's then going to start infecting all the local devices. Yeah. It may even set up command and control back to the bad actor, and then they've got direct access into your network. And then there's 2 or 3 things they're going to do from there. They're going to either, first things first, they're going to try and get privilege escalation. Yeah. So they're going to try and get an administrator account. Yeah,
which we were talking about yesterday, weren't we? A lot of that.
Right.
Yeah.
And then from there, they're either going to, try and lock a load of data away so that you've then got to pay a ransom to get it back using ransomware, or they're going to exfiltrate that data and then sell it to the highest bidder wherever they can. Yeah. In our demo that we use for ZeroFox, you've probably seen it. It's Stark Industries, so it's very built around the Iron Man universe.
Very cool.
Right, but at the end of the day, let's just hypothetically, if someone did that and then exfiltrated the blueprints to the Iron Man suit, and then goes and sells them to the Russians, I know I'm taking it a bit far, but you know, it's that sort of level of logic that everyone. If you have devices connected to the internet, you are a target in one way or another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were all talking about this yesterday. I think you can't. It's gone in the day where you can just. You are going to get attacked, aren't you?
Yeah.
So if you just think about that, like it's going to happen. We know it's going to happen. So how can you protect? And we were also saying there are so many layers to cybersecurity now. You think you've put that in, and you can't go. Oh, it's cool. I put that in. Let's walk away. Because they're constantly trying a new way of getting in, and I feel like once we've been talking to more and more people, it's like you get to a certain level, and you can't go. Oh, I've got there. Because they're always one step ahead of you, so you need to be like getting the next level in front. It's like the next thing.
It's not a destination, it's a continuous.
Yes.
You're not there, you can't tick the box and go, yeah, bang, we're secure.
It's a journey.
It's a constant.
It's evolving all the time. You know,
and more people are waking up to that. You do still get the odd person that says, I'm protected, actually, I've got 3 firewalls. But
they're all around me.
People are starting to wake up to this and obviously view it as a wider issue, which is good, but there's a lot of work to be done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there anything particularly that's come out this year maybe that you've seen and gone, oh, that's different, or that's evolved, or that's clever?
What, within the market or within our technology?
Just
in
what you guys are seeing, because obviously you're seeing this
Absolutely.
day to day.
I mean, we're seeing, like, again, I don't want to keep sort of going over it, but the dark web is where it's just there's, I mean, obviously it's been there, you know, the dark web has been there for ages. More and more threat intelligence is out there, and any intelligence is good intelligence in some respects. But I think what we're seeing, or what I've definitely seen in the past sort of 6 months at least, is there's just so much that we don't see day to day. You know, the amount of botnet activity, the amount of people that are just, you know, harvesting credentials and using those credentials maliciously that are being sold on the dark web. You know, I was talking about this to you earlier on. We have, acquired a couple of companies. Yeah. We have a very good now dark web analyst. We have 200 analysts that basically are, you know, focused in the dark web. They have access into the dark and deep reaches of the dark web, and they're able to pull stuff back. Like, you know, they're able to find where cookie sessions are being sold. Now, a cookie session, you know, if you're logging into your banking app day in, day out, and you're logging into another website, maybe you're logging into Outlook webmail for your organisation, if they take that whole session, they can now get into your banking app, they can now get into your webmail, and they can now get into anything else that you've logged into. And they're selling it on the dark web for potentially $10 or $15, in some cases a lot more. But in most cases,
not a lot, is it? For your
it's not a lot. But if they're doing tens of thousands of these a day,
oh yeah, no, it's a lot.
You know,
you just realise the value of all your data is like $10. It's like, oh, is that all I'm worth?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Because you think they're going to not only sell that, but then the person that buys that is then going to rip you off for more.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a good business to be in, I guess. You know, if you're
that way
inclined, you know, if you're not, it's an ethical argument, isn't it, at the end of the day? And that's why we sit here, to make sure that, you know, as many of our customers as we can are protected from any kind of cyber abuse.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and there's, like we said, there's so many use cases for it. It's almost it's tricky to cover everything, because it can go from the corporate entity that you're having to protect them, but then actually all the way down to the individual user on the street that, like we said earlier, might click on.
Well, I think, like you said, if you're connected to the internet,
your target. Everyone's a target.
We're all susceptible to it. So and also, you know, it's starting from the big brands and everyone doing their best and their utmost to do that and put it forward to protect the people on the day-to-day people users, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, yes, if we talk about use cases for a moment, I mean, you know, we were talking yesterday, you know, data breaches are a big thing as well.
Yeah.
And not even that, you know, everyone thinks of a data breach and thinks, oh yeah, someone's gone in, hacked into somewhere and taken data and taken it somewhere else. That's not always the case. In some cases, there can be, because of misconfigurations on web servers or whatever, there can be confidential files sitting out there on your web server that you can just get access to that just aren't protected. You know, I had a very good conversation with the company once before where, we were able to actually find screenshots, thousands of screenshots of bank transfers. And these screenshots had the account name, the account number, the sort code, the amount of money that was being transferred to and from. And there was thousands of them out there in an unsecure location. On an open S3 data bucket, which is just anyone could have got access to that and then been able to get into those accounts.
And they just didn't know it was there.
Or they probably knew it was there, but they didn't know it was that easy to get to.
Right.
Because there was no security in place.
Yeah.
So, there's just so many. We've just recently updated our location protection as well, for more of a physical security element as well. Because it's all well and good knowing, if your executives are travelling around the country or the world, or if you have a building that you want to make sure is, maybe you've got, I don't know, it's a target for whatever reason, it's an oil refinery, or it's, I don't know, it's
pharmaceutical.
Yeah, that's
probably a good one.
You can put a geofence around it and then make sure that you're monitoring traffic around that location, so that ultimately you can sort of monitor messages on Twitter or whatever, because there's a big difference, and this is where our NLP comes back in. There's a big difference between there is a bomb or they are the bomb. It's colloquial, but that's the sort of thing that we have to pick up on these days. And if someone's tweeting that or texting that from outside their office,
you're going to know that they're very close.
That's more of a threat than if they're tweeting it from 2,000 miles away. And we're now putting in extra resources like news articles, weather articles, to make sure that you're not putting people at risk.
And that's where the AI does all the number crunching kind of in the background of that, to say, right, where was that said, triage that location.
Completely opened my eyes up to a completely even bigger thing that I hadn't even thought about, that side of stuff.
See, we could carry on talking about use cases all day. The use cases are infinite.
It's clever stuff. It's conversations, and I know we've talked before the podcast started about sports clubs, but when you look at the executive protection that you've got, which can be for C-levels, in sports clubs it can be for players, but when you have certain entities or people that are high up within those clubs, businesses, whatever it might be, being physically threatened or having their houses attacked, people turning up there, you can kind of protect against that by drawing that geofence around that house and saying, if we see mentions of that postcode within these channels,
absolutely,
we then analyse the language that's going on around that and actually then start to triage how much of a threat is this and do we need to notify that person.
So also when certain people, I know in the public eye, people did rallies and stuff, didn't in front of their homes, some political people, didn't they? So you could have picked up on noise if they were chattering about it through Facebook or so.
To a degree,
I assume that's how they've.
Yeah, I mean, there is a line that we're not able to cross with the social networks.
Okay.
There is a terms of service.
Yeah.
Everyone signs up to the terms of service, and we all have to abide by the terms of service, which means we can't surveil people.
No.
We can't put under surveillance. But yeah, absolutely. If we can. I'll give you a prime example.
You can see patterns,
Yeah,
I guess.
absolutely. I can give you a prime example, and I think I talk about this all the time. We were doing some protection. We did an event protection for a very well-known Premiership football club in a very well-known European competition. And we started picking up chatter about stabbings, stabs, bleeding, and we're like, okay, what's going on? We reported it to the operations centre. They were able to send people down there to find somebody in the corner of the stadium that had been stabbed. Right, and then from that point, they were able to save his life, and then they were able to even rerun the video footage and find the person that actually stabbed him and get him prosecuted. So, just from that little bit of intelligence, and I know we've kind of almost stepped away from cyber, but this is all part of that sort of security element and keeping it and using
information,
using cyber as a using that data to our advantage as well.
Yeah.
So just for me to understand then, someone obviously had been stabbed.
Yeah.
And people were, tweeting about it?
Well, yeah. What else? How many times?
Just been stabbed.
God!
How many times do you go on Facebook and you see a video and you're like, why are you videoing that?
Had someone ran the ambulance?
I don't think at that point anyone had done anything. I think
so
it was...
the first reaction was, going to tweet that.
Yeah.
Like, that's mental, isn't it?
How many times do you watch a video on Facebook or somewhere and you think, why are you filming that and not helping that poor person? The amount of times you see that.
I know.
And again, it's that...
I just don't think I'd even get my phone out. I think I'd be so...
No, Taken aback. Yeah.
You're being,
Someone's
yeah.
just been stabbed
You're right.
in front of me.
Yeah.
But obviously, it does happen.
I mean-
so that's my naivety of thinking no one's going to do that, but they must have done.
Just
for you
look
to pick
recently
it up.
about all the trouble we had at Wembley at the final.
Yeah,
You know, and how much video footage was there,
loads.
right? And instead
Rather
of
than actually stopping the people coming through the barricades.
you know, they were just
stood there in
filming
front
it to upload it because I'm going to get loads of likes. And again, that's another thing that we have to deal with. You know, people want that affirmation.
I might get 200 quid from Lad Bible if I send it in, or I could actually try and protect people. And
I mean, I'm not trying to say that we protect against that, but that's just human nature. That's just that whole sort of aspect.
We like we said, we overshare.
Yeah.
If we feel like, I mean, I know, especially from having children, I was bad at it at the beginning. Like, oh god, I needed to put up every outfit that they had on
Absolutely.
and every moment because I need this. When sometimes you don't live in the moment, do you?
No.
You're so busy trying to make sure everyone's aware that you're in the moment, that you're not in the moment.
But then
It's
you
very
think about
psychological.
There's a very good YouTube video. I can't remember who it's by now, but basically it's a 20-second thing where this girl, they're saying, what day is it? Oh, it's my birthday, and then you just follow through this whole video for 10 seconds, and it basically that the hacker's able to work out that she's 25 today, so that's her birthday, so we'll rewind that 25 years, we now have her birthday. They then keep following her, they find where she lives, right, we've now got her address, a couple more photos further forward, she's getting her nails done, she's got a credit card on the side, boom, we've now got her credit card number, I can now apply for a credit card, I've got all her details. Fraud. So easy because it's just shared.
Oh god, I'm not going to put my son's birthday
and all the
pictures
things
up
as
on Monday,
well.
am I?
You see them. People still do them on Facebook. I know they were kind of more popular back in the day, but it would be kind of fill in these details and then share, and it would be what's your favourite food, what's your dog's name, where were you born.
Let's
and
just
all this,
give
and
away
like,
all our security answers.
all of the the security answers, your prompts for
forgot
my passwords.
Right,
You
absolutely.
fill them in because you're not thinking about.
Well, you don't because you play the little fun polls.
Yeah,
they're
could-
fun.
Could that be
Right.
racist?
You won't do them ever again.
I want to tell everyone I love steak or roast dinner. You don't think that?
Yeah,
actually,
but you're trying to interact, aren't you?
Yeah,
You're trying
exactly.
to get. You don't realise. I mean, I remember this is when I really, really early started on Call to Cloud, and I was, no idea of what I was getting myself into from a cybersecurity point. And one of my family members moved into a new house and did that standard picture outside front door, and you could see the cul-de-sac name with the number.
Yep.
Then I think a few days later, they got loads of deliveries for the new electrical goods for the house, and I remember my family member, who I won't name, going, "Oh look, new TV's arrived." Can't remember much. Then I think it was 3 weeks later, she got a new car delivered, and then she put, "Oh my god, I'm going on holiday, can't wait." Da da da. Put the date up, packing the suitcase, and then she was on Instagram in the airport. And I texted her saying, "You have basically told the world that I have a brand new house, a brand new car. I'm not in my house. You put the cul-de-sac, the number, and you've logged in that you're now in Gatwick." I was like, you may as well have put the keys in the front door.
But that is actually a really good point, because that takes you right back to the beginning of the conversation with impersonations. If I impersonate a C-level executive and I connect up to whomever, I can then do as much social engineering as I like. I can watch everything that you're sharing, everything that you're doing to build a profile. I'm building that profile to the point where I now know you're going to click on that link, or you're going to do... it doesn't have to be like the traditional social engineering where, you end up phoning up the organisation and pretending to be who they are. Or you have to, and we still do it today. I guarantee you people get tailgated into buildings because we open doors for people. We hold the door open because it's human nature.
We trust.
Right? Where, and people just walk straight into organisations. And so, using that persona, you can build up so much intelligence. And it goes a step further. I mean, even... like some of our other data sources that we haven't spoken about today, the likes of the sort of the code sharing sites like Bitbucket and GitHub, data gets uploaded to those because a developer's got a problem, they're trying to fix a problem with a piece of code, and so they post it up there, please help me, here's the problem. But because they're a developer, they see it in development as code. They don't see that all of a sudden there's usernames, there's passwords, there's email addresses, there's footprinting information, there's operating systems, there's versions, there's API keys, and it's all there. So all I have to do is just watch and listen. If I find my mark, I can do great damage without even going near the building. I can be outside the world.
Yeah, being really innocent.
Yeah.
Oh goodness, there's so many angles.
Absolutely. I think obviously of all our technologies, and while still fantastic, I think this is one that covers so many
much.
different aspects and elements that
And I'm always
keep kind of coming out of the woodwork going, didn't think of that.
I know I always use the phrase, what's the next sexy thing that we're selling, but I think this is definitely, when you look at cyber security, it's quite a sexy one.
Quite all encompassing.
Yes.
Definitely.